Good morning, all. Ron Siegel Radio, where your financial wellness is our top priority. Today, we're joined by Ken Stewart, an expert who stands on the front line of foreclosure prevention. Ken has transformed lives with his expertise, and he's here to empower you with the knowledge to navigate the daunting world of real estate difficulties. Stay with us for the entire show to unlock strategies for keeping your home and making informed decisions under pressure. Welcome, Ken Stewart. How are you this morning?
I'm well, Ron. How are you?
Doing great. It's a tough world you're in.
Yes, it is.
Right?
Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. Well, you know something? It's a challenge. How did you get into dealing with the foreclosure prevention?
Well, I started out in 2007 as the market was collapsing. I became an REO agent. It means I started working for the banks. And from 2007 through 2012, here locally.
Wait, you got to go backwards because
Okay.
I'm a simple guy.
Okay.
What's an REO agent
Oh, sorry.
mean?
Sorry, I'm using Tech Talk. Sorry about
Tech
that.
Talk.
So 2007,
Not TikTok.
as the market is going down, banks are foreclosing on properties, and an REO is just the term that banks use for a foreclosed property, so real estate owned.
Okay.
And so what most people refer to as bank repo. So I was the Grim Reaper. I was the guy who I would get an assignment from the bank with an address they had foreclosed on. I was the one who would go out and be their first point of contact. And I was the one who would inform them that they no longer got to live in the house that they used to own. And so I would make arrangements for them to vacate and eventually sell that home.
That's a tough world right now. Well, you know, some nowadays, though, that would be even tougher because now I can just say I'm a squatter and I get to stay there and I get all kinds of rights.
Correct. But we also used to come in and offer them money to leave. So usually squatters would, oftentimes we knew they were squatters. It didn't matter. It didn't matter who was in the house. So some smart guys might see an empty house, jump in and wait for me to show up.
Oh, and then you were giving them money to leave.
Correct. That would be cash for keys. So
gotcha. So now you've now move us forward till 2024.
Mm-hmm.
How's that different?
So in 2012, the REO or bank repo market came to an end, and I went back to selling standard real estate. And then in 2014, I had an opportunity to join a firm in which we were foreclosure prevention specialists. So what we did is instead of taking homes from people for the banks, we would work with people to help them prevent foreclosure. So we would intervene, we would negotiate with the banks, and come to a solution to help them stay in the home.
So are there many people that know that this is even an opportunity or available?
Probably not, no, because most of the people we talk to, I mean, the easiest thing to do that we do is just to talk to the bank, tell them there's an issue. Many of these people never tell the bank that there's an issue.
What do you mean, like an issue? The bank knows they're not making their payments. So what do you mean that they don't know? They don't tell the bank?
Well, you just mentioned unemployment, so they've lost their job. They know they don't have any money. They know they've got enough money to last 2 months. So if they don't get a job in the first month, they put their house on the market and they sell it. They never even contact the bank. They don't, because they think, I don't want to go late. I don't want to ruin my credit. I want to make sure that I'm making my payments. So it'd be better for me just to sell the property and maintain my credit. But the fact of the matter is there are options to you that, yes, it will affect your FICO scores, your credit scores in the short term, but in the long term, you get to keep your house and everything resets and sets itself up because that's what the banks want. They want performing assets.
Now in 2007, 2008, 2009, when we saw the real estate meltdown,
mm-hmm.
one of the things that we heard frequently is the banks won't talk to you unless you've missed payments.
That is correct. You got to be 30 days behind. Now, will they talk to you? Sure, but there's nothing they can do. So what I suggest to people is when something happens, when you lose that job, call the bank and say, hey, this is what has happened. What are my options? And they already have options set up. They're ready to help you with these options, especially the initial options.
But not if you're still current.
Not if you're still current.
Seems to me like, isn't that backwards? I mean, you always hear creditors say, communicate. And here we're saying, well, you can communicate, but we're not going to help you until you're past due.
Right. So they want you to pay a price. So they want you to be 30 days late. So the day you go 30 days late, you can start right then, and then you can repair it. And within a few months, it'll fix itself. And then you'll have that 30-day late on your credit report, right? You'll have 1 30-day late. It's better to have 1 30-day late and fix the problem than sell or go 90 days late.
So I want to talk to you when we come back about the risk of 1 30-day late And we'll talk about that when we come back. Continue our conversation. We are chatting with Ken Stewart this morning. He is from the default department, expert here on, so you've done the REOs, you've done the short sales. Now you're on the opposite side of the table, maybe trying to educate. Well, you probably tried to help educate people before too.
Right. Well, yeah, it's always about education. So it's really, that's all it is, and it's tempting. I mean, before you make that phone call to a real estate agent, so how do I sell my house? Just make a phone call to your loan servicer and tell them what's happening. That way you can get the options that are available for you. I mean, many of the options are a simple matter. Look, there's this issue. I need some time. How much time do you need? Is everything fixed? Are you ready to go? Yeah, I had some business issues. My income was down, but now it's back. Everything is good. Well, how much time do you need? I need, if I could get like 2 months and then just start over, I'd be great. Banks will do that. They will do that without pulling credit, without having you supply any further information. I mean, literally all you need to do is answer a few questions on the phone over a 10-minute conversation, and then they will make a decision. And oftentimes we'll send you out the paperwork and you sign it. And 3 months later, your debt is set on the end of your loan. Your credit has reset and you are no longer late. You're on time, current, ready to go, making your payments again. And you never had to sell your home, and you never had to pay anything. You never had to do anything but ask for help and follow instructions.
Well, ironically enough, right now, those people that are going and they think the only answer is to sell, the issue is going to be they're not going to be able to, even if they get their act back in order, the likelihood is they're not going to be able to afford the same property.
No,
because the interest rates have doubled since what most people have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So if you've got a 3 or a 4% mortgage, you know, if you went to try and sell your house, take your equity and buy something new, it's going to be much, much smaller.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the fact of the matter is it's not, when you come back and start making your payments, you still have your 3.5% interest rate on your first. You just have a promissory note for whatever the balance was on the end, which needs to be paid off when you pay off the whole loan or when you eventually sell a house or whatever. But it's interest free. It's just sitting out there.
That's a great deal.
I think it's a great deal.
Now, let me throw this thought that comes to my mind as a consumer advocate.
Sure.
So I make that phone call. They tell me there's nothing they can do until I'm 30 days late. I wait. I go 30 days late. I call them, and the person that answered the phone is not the same person I spoke to the first time.
Of course.
And there's nothing they can do. But now I can't sell my house and buy another one because I've got a late on my mortgage.
Okay. Well, you'll be able to sell the house, not a problem,
right,
with a late on your mortgage. And then there are many programs where you have a 30-day late on your mortgage and you could buy a new house. But here's the thing. We're not, the reason you went 30 days late was so that you could save your house.
Right.
And again, it is a requirement for you to have 1 30-day late. You have to. There's no other way. So you can set everything up in front before you're 30 days late. You talk to the right people. You get the right information. You write down the key terms. Key term being is, for most banks, I want a partial. That's the term. I want a partial.
Okay.
Okay. I'd like a partial. So they give you the information on partial. You call up the day after your 30-day late. You say,
so it's basically the 16th of the month following that, that 16th, 17th, 20th.
Well, you get your 30-day late on the 31st.
Oh, that's right.
Call them on the 1st, and you say, look, I'm 30 days late. I want to do a partial. They have a checklist that they have to go through. You should have already had the checklist because you've asked all the questions in advance of this all happening. You complete everything, get it over to them they have to give you an answer within 30 days. They typically take less time. It'll take 2 to 3 weeks typically, but you do this on the 1st. Everything is settled and fixed by the 21st through the 25th. There's not going to be a second 30-day late because everything is fixed. You're not going to pay the next month. You're not going to pay the next month. And then you're going to pay the 3rd month if you've negotiated that, whatever we've negotiated. And then it'll be your regular payments again. So it's a blip.
Wow. Okay. So
it's a mulligan, basically.
You got a mulligan. Okay. So obviously you're a golfer. I go out there and I'm not going to go into that.
Chase balls.
Exactly. I stopped counting at double par.
I don't even count.
There you go. It's even smarter. Well, actually, something, being that we're talking about golf here, what the heck? So I actually am always coming with a negative score, but I score in my own way.
Okay.
So if I went out with 10 golf balls and I come back with 4 golf balls, I'm -6 for the day.
All right.
When you're in there at the 19th hole telling everybody you're -6, they're looking at you going, "Holy cow, he's a heck of a golfer."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They don't realize we're talking different things.
Exactly.
But that's a whole different story. So is it a guarantee? I don't use the word guarantee, but is there a very high likelihood that the bank's going to work with me?
Very high likelihood. Yes.
Okay.
As long as you're answering the questions right. If you say, I have no money, I have no source of income, I can't do anything, this is not a temporary situation, things aren't going to get better, I'm never going to be able to afford this. No, they're not going to work with you. But when they're talking to you on the phone, they're asking questions like, have you fixed the problem? Well, if you fix the problem, then yeah, I fixed the
I
problem.
stepped off the curb. I couldn't go to work for a month, and I'm going to be going back to work next month.
Right. They're not, if all of a sudden you are on disability, lifetime disability, well, no, it's a long-term issue.
Okay.
That's different. For most people, though, the majority of people, it's a short-term issue, and they just get overwhelmed, and they go, and I hear it all the time. If I could just get a couple of months, if they would just leave me alone, because you start getting multiple mailers, multiple phone calls. It's a psychological warfare from the bank because they want to get paid. And
banks only want I shouldn't say banks. Lenders only want 2 things, right? They want to get their interest,
right,
and they want to get their money back.
right.
Like, that's what they want. So if you can help them with those things,
Absolutely. And it's a reverse order. They want their money back and they would like their interest. And
right?
sometimes they're willing to give up that interest to get their money back.
Sure, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
So it's so you're not really hindering them. You're almost in a sense you're helping with the process.
Absolutely. Look, they want a performing instrument. They want a loan that is performing because it costs them less to hold that loan, right? And if they can spend a little money or just basically costs them nothing to take that money they have, they know they're going to get it at the end and put it at the end. Why wouldn't they do that? They now have a performing asset. It is in their best interest to make that performing. They want that.
That's how they make their money.
That's how they make their money.
They don't have to keep as much reserves. We're going to continue our conversation with Ken Stewart when we come back. Continue our conversation. Ken Stewart is with us, chatting about solutions for your home, about how you can solve the problems. You know, maybe before you go to the dark side, before you're too overwhelmed, I guess is the best way of putting it.
Absolutely.
You know, there's a lot of people, you know, unfortunately our society's there's a lot of suicides, and finance is a big reason for that.
Mm-hmm.
So and you've got some solutions here to help. Now, one of the things I want to ask you about, Ken, is I forgot Chris's company name, but you know, they help negotiate people's credit card debt.
Sure.
And they're paying it. They're just not, maybe paying the 30% interest that the banks want, but they're paying.
Right.
Will that have any bearing on doing something with your on your primary residence?
Not really. Not if you're behind. They want to know how much your payments are. So if we move on to an actual modification instead of a partial or something like that, where we actually have to gather up information, they're going to want to know how much debt you have.
Okay.
Elsewhere. So if you've been able to satisfy your debt somewhere else and you don't have the debt, that means that you can afford more housing debt. So from their perspective, that means that they can change the numbers in the income because they're looking for a specific number. They're looking for a number that they feel comfortable with. And if you have, $100,000 in credit card debt, well, they're going to feel a heck of a lot less comfortable with you.
So they want to know that if they do this, they're going to get back on track.
Right. The whole point is to get on track. It's not to help you save your house. It's to make the debt performing.
So we can go to our normal assumption that the bank really doesn't care about the individual.
No.
They just want to make sure that their instrument is performing and they're getting their money back.
Correct. And the way to do that is to help the individual temporarily. Yeah.
Now, I'll throw this out there, Ken, because I do all the time. I need to have double knee replacement.
Okay.
I can go on Google and find out how to do it, but I'm probably not going to have a good result.
Probably not. No.
Is it similar here where, I can go and do this stuff with the banks, but I'm probably not going to get the right result?
It is and it isn't. So, for example, in the initial, when I talk about that partial, I mean, literally, it's just a phone call. So if you can make that phone call and ask for that information, if you feel comfortable doing that, that's great. You can do that, and there's no additional paperwork. It's a simple process, right? Once you get beyond that, then it gets more complicated. And the real issue is this: you You may have heard the old term, an attorney who has himself or represents himself as a fool for a client.
Right.
It's the same thing, because when you are on the phone and you're trying to negotiate things, and if you're actually having to negotiate, not just, hey, can I have this? It's an actual negotiation. You have to provide information. If it's you're representing, you get frustrated when it takes an hour and a half to sit on the phone, and you're sitting on the phone for an hour and a half, and then someone comes on and that person is an idiot, and you need to hang up on that person and then call back and wait another hour and a half till you can talk to another person. That's kind of what you do. And you can't get frustrated. You can't be
What's my house, so I'm emotional.
You're emotionally attached to it. And the fact is, I'm not. So I get on the phone and I wait and I talk to people, and I know what questions to ask. Right. And that's really
the key right there.
That's a key. I have right here. I have sheets that I have that are, these are the questions to ask that I put together.
Over a checklist.
I have a checklist, and I sit there and I go through my checklist and I ask them each question, and because I know what that information is going to tell me and how I can help qualify them to see what is available for them.
Now, my assumption is, and you can tell me if I'm making the fool of myself by assuming, is that when somebody like yourself who does this on a regular basis,
right,
you may get to know people at specific institutions,
right,
that you can call and say, hey, I've got Mrs. Jones here, and this is the scenario, and is it something we can help with or can't help with?
Right. You end up, because if you call a lot, and if previous to 2020, we had a lot more relationships, because there was a lot more going on. And so, yes, we would have that kind of where you would call the same people and say, hey, I've got somebody new, because that's what their job is, to do it. And then you would end up trying to work with those people.
And they would know that if they've got Ken calling, it's going to be a whole lot easier because Ken knows what he's doing.
Right.
As opposed to Mrs. Jones, who
Our files go to the top. Our files go to the top because they know, they tell me what I need, and I will give them what they need.
Everybody wants easy.
Yeah, everyone wants
right.
Easy,
if you can make it easy for them, they're gonna do that.
And they're bonused on how many they complete, and they would rather complete the new ones and the easy ones than the tough ones. That's why when you're yelling at them on the phone, and I call them and say, hey, you having a great day? What do you need? They're like, oh, let's work with this guy because I know I can get that one done.
Ken just sent them a Starbucks gift card, and and they're having a cup of coffee together.
Sure. No.
Right. No, but I mean, it is people like, I mean, they're at the bank doing a job, getting paid whatever they're getting paid, and on their job title, it probably doesn't say be the punching bag for Mr. Jones.
They're in their bank's default department. Everybody they are talking to has an issue with their mortgage, and hence an issue in their life. Every single person.
All they do.
That's all they do. Then I come along and I don't have that. I mean, I'm representing somebody who does, but I'm having just a, hey, what's going on?
You're having a business conversation.
Right. So there's not the emotion. I mean, and it's usually pleasant for them to speak with me.
So you're actually the white knight, so to speak, because you're helping the consumer try and get out of what's probably their toughest challenge in life at the moment.
Right.
And when you call the bank, they're talking to somebody who's not yelling at them, not emotional, who's treating them in a professional way. So you're the white knight on both sides.
I try and be. Yeah. I like to say when I worked for the banks, I had a black hat. Now that I'm working for people with the banks, I put on the white hat.
Nice. Are your services affordable? I mean, I can't right now, if I can't make my mortgage payments.
Right. So, my primary goal and objective is to help people, and I would like to get paid at it. So I charge.
Sounds like you're entitled.
I charge a flat fee, but I know that the people that I'm working with are in trouble. So I charge a flat fee. I give them payment plans, but the fact, and I rely on the fact that I've just saved their house, and that they have if they're
hoping you're dealing with an honest person who's just needs a hand up and not a hand out.
Exactly. And many people are very grateful and they want to pay. They don't have the wherewithal at this moment, but they want to make payments. They want to help me out. They want, not help me out, but they want to make those payments. There are other people who have the money and they pay me immediately. And then there are people who, no matter what I do, I'm never going to get paid, but it's still a win. Like I told you before, when I took about 300 houses when I was an REO agent. Okay. So I knocked on the door 300 times and took those people's houses. Right. since I switched sides in 2014, I've saved about 147 people from foreclosure.
Wow, that's nice.
So I've got 153-ish more people or families to help before I equalize the playing field.
Nice. That's a great mission.
Yeah. Well, you got to have a
it's a great mission. So we talked about the options. We've talked about that there are options out there. Do you and you really just can't do anything until you get to that one late payment?
No. You can you sit there and you can talk to them. You can find out everything. You want to talk to them and see what's available. Because here's the thing, you don't want to wait till you're late. If they're not going to offer you anything, if your lender isn't going to offer you anything, because they're required to listen to you, but they're not required to help you.
Gotcha.
Okay, so most big lenders, they have programs, they want to help you, they want to get it done. But some of the smaller lenders, many people who bought underperforming assets or assets in small groups will take this and they don't care. They want it all. And so some people won't negotiate. So you don't want to be 30 days late. So that's why it's best to speak to them.
That's saving you very early.
Talk to, see that I help people, and the only way I reach people is they're already late and they're already behind. That's how they get to me. But if you're like I said, something's happened, you've lost your job, get on the phone and call the bank and see if there's any options. Because great, maybe you do get a new job and it's no issue. But it's good to know, it's peace of mind to know that, okay, if I need to, I can do this, and that'll buy me another 2 or 3 or 4 months. And I'm sure I can get a job by then or fix the issue or whatever.
So if you're one of those people that gets that or knows your company's got that warrant notice going out telling you that, hey, we're laying off people, that's the time you want to be calling Ken Stewart and chat with him and, say, hey, something, this is coming up. Right. It's on the horizon. I know I'm going to have challenges. We're all living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, I've read so many articles that if somebody has a tire issue with their car, they have to wait for the next paycheck to pay for it because they don't have enough money in the bank for it, and their credit cards are maxed out.
Right.
So give me a call at 800-306-1990. Be happy to put you in touch with Ken Stewart. We know that there's issues out there in the marketplace, and as we've said all the time, we just want to be here to help. I started doing this, as I've said many times, in 2010. It is not a profit center. We make money with our lending team, thank goodness, and our Geneva helps us here. But we want to help you. We want to give you education so that if you've got a financial problem, there are solutions, as we've talked about with Ken Stewart today. We've talked to Chris Corrales about helping with unsecured debt. And if it gets to the ultimate, we've talked with you with some of the bankruptcy attorneys that have come on the show. And there's that option as a very, very ultimate last resort. But the first resort, 800-306-1990.